How effectively could you discuss ISIS or ISIL or Daesh without actually talking about Islam or Muslims? As far as I'm concerned, it's not even possible at all. But according to Michelle Shepard of the Toronto Star, it appears to be par for the course. Michelle Shepard is a national security reporter for the Toronto Star. She's also the author of the book Guantanamo's Child, a glowing tribute of convicted murderer and terrorist Omar Khadr. She wrote a story this week in the Toronto Star documenting the recruitment files of the Islamic State of Daesh. And in these files, she goes in perfect detail about the meticulous data that Daesh has about their recruits, country of origin, blood type, their role in the terrorist organization. In these lists, by the way, there are 16 names from Canada, Canadians that are fighting with the Islamic State, signing up for any range of administrative jobs or even martyr jobs, because, well, you know, who doesn't want that on a resume, right? Well, she does this in 1,009 words without ever mentioning Muslim. She doesn't mention Muslims, she doesn't even mention Islam, except for one reference that comes from the name of a Middle Eastern group called Al-Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb. And to talk about ISIS in 1,000 plus words without mentioning Islam takes a very specific goal. And it becomes more apparent when you look into the actual detail of the story. You see, in talking about the recruitment profile of who joins ISIS, who is recruited to fight with the terrorist so-called state in the Middle East, there's one salient detail that she talks about, the diversity. She talks about barbers from Uzbekistan, drug dealers from Indonesia, all the different people from all walks of life that end up fighting with the Islamic State. Here's what she said. The most striking information gleaned is the vast diversity of recruits, debunking theories that there's a common Daesh profile. There's a horse trainer from Saudi Arabia and a sailor from Dagestan, a geography teacher from Ukraine, a bodyguard, a restaurant owner, an Australian construction worker, a Tunisian motorcycle repairman with a 7th grade education, a martial arts coach, a Belgian car salesman, and an Egyptian dentist. She goes on, and yeah, I could name off a bunch of job titles whatsoever, but to say there's no common profile is missing one very key commonality. They are all Muslims. They are all Muslims, they all adhere to the religion of Islam, and they are all bonded together by that very desire, by that very religion. So we can talk about how, yes, maybe there are some dissimilarities between them, but let's not ignore the one key similarity. And this got me looking into one other area. Toronto Star is one of the first media outlets in Canada to refer to ISIS exclusively as Daesh. Now, Daesh translates or rather is an acronym for the literal Arabic meaning of what ISIS claims it is, but they don't like the word. The terrorist thugs don't like it because it's too similar to the word for bigot, and the term for sowers of discord, and the term for one who crushes underfoot. So they've threatened to cut off the tongue of anyone who says it, so Daesh, Daesh, Daesh. But then I looked into why the Toronto Star did it. And there was an article when the Toronto Star made the decision that may offer a little bit more of a key to why the Toronto Star is approaching covering the Islamic State the way they actually are. In this piece, one of the reporters talks about why the Toronto Star made this decision. That's because the criminal gang that has murdered, raped, and pillaged its way across the Middle East while sending sycophants to slaughter civilians abroad is neither Islamic nor an internationally recognized state. That was from Foreign Affairs reporter Olivia Ward in the Toronto Star. And she's right, they aren't a state. But you can't say they aren't Islamic. That is the very thing they proclaim to be, and it's ultimately the guiding force of everything that they do. Now, that doesn't mean that every Muslim in the world embraces ISIS or Daesh. In fact, many Muslims are the first to admit that they're the victims of this terrorist cult, not just Christians, but Muslims as well, and people of no religion whatsoever. But it seems from this decision, as well as Michelle Shepard's recent column, that there is an utter rejection that the Islamic State is, in fact, Islamic. And if we can't talk about that, how are we ever going to deal with any long-term solution for this horrendous terrorist organization in this country that is even recruiting Canadians to its midst? For the Rebel.media, I'm Andrew Lawton.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.